A new year, a new government, a new start. The Megacanners are boosted and or recovered and ready to analyse the shit out of German politics in the year 2022. Also, finally someone explains what the Bundesrat is for, and then there's the parlous state of Germany's sausage situation. Mahlzeit!
It is finally time for another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan, returned from Corona times, Corona land. I'm here with Ex-Berliner magazine and Konrad Werner. Hello, Konrad.
Hello.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am too. We've not done this since November. I had to check. I thought our iTunes feed had broken because it said because we've not done one since November, and I remembered that we really haven't.
No, we need to get one of those like passive aggressive watches that people have that tell them that they haven't moved enough. Like that thing that you do that's supposed to be regular. You haven't done it for ages. But not all of that was our fault.
No, well, we were away. We were both away in different places.
We were. You were in Mexico, which is very exciting.
I went away to Mexico and you went, well, to Ireland for your
I did,
Christmas.
and like everyone in Ireland got coronavirus.
So what was that like? How are you feeling now?
Let's have some booze and then I will tell you of my corona experience, which is actually not bad at all. Okay, because we haven't done this for ages, I went with our classic favourites. So you're having a ginger, and Jack Daniel and ginger, and I'm having a gin and tonic.
That's a perfect.
And when was the last time you had a Megacan?
Since last time we did this, I haven't had one.
No, that can't possibly be true of me, but I definitely haven't had one since before the school holiday, for a while, for weeks. Let's begin.
Cheers. I like having the ginger ones.
I know you do.
Especially in winter.
Holy God, that is absolutely delicious. Obviously, I've been with my family, so I've been drinking a lot of gin and tonic. But in can form, also, don't have to go down to my brother's basement. He built a bar down in his basement, my brother's, in case coronavirus stopped us. And it didn't. We just all got coronavirus and then used the bar downstairs. But I haven't had to make this.
So in the evening you went, should we go to the pub? And then because you were in isolation, you all went downstairs.
Yeah, kind
to the
of.
basement.
I had the most privileged corona experience, but it was quite nice because 2021 was a bit of a shit year. And so the universe gave me a little gift, which was to give me a very mild dose and give all my family a mild dose of coronavirus. So we had to spend another week together, which was really nice.
Do you think it was Omicron?
I don't know, but I am assuming it was because the two things we know kind of maybe about Omicron is that it was milder. A few of us were a little bit more sick, had a bit of a cough and didn't feel so good for a couple of days, but after that we're fine. My mum luckily was absolutely fine, apart from she lost her sense of taste. And then every time she did like a Schnell test, she was like, do I feel bad? It's positive. I thought it was fine. Maybe I'm sick. I was like, okay. But it was quite funny. But the other thing was it's just so contagious. We'd kind of had contact with like quite a large group of people, all of whom were vaccinated and I have to say Schnell tested. How effective are those? We don't know.
No.
They're not. Anyway.
And you were singing in a pub, you just said. You went to a pub and had a singing session. No,
well, some people were singing. We were singing adjacent. And actually the people who were singing, because they were a bit further away, managed to not get coronavirus, at least in the first wave. Anyway, yeah, it went through everyone. It was just so, like, with the exception of very few people. So
then your whole family.
It does mean business. But it was quite good because it was... So the Schnell tests were like positive for my sister's boyfriend and my mum, and we like sent them upstairs to quarantine in their rooms. Luckily, my brother's house has got quite a lot of rooms and he lives in the middle of nowhere. So it was we weren't crowded around loads of people. But then we all went for New Year's Day PCRs, really hungover, which is grim. And in the UK, they do this thing of like you go through a drive-through. I went to the municipal offices in Armagh, which is this old Georgian building, which I actually got married in many moons ago. And you like drive up in the car park. We had to go in convoy. They're so nice, obviously, in Northern Ireland, but it's just like lots of people in high-vis vests and they're just, you here for your wee corona test, okay? Here you go. And you have to like go. There's just like three of us in a Peugeot something, trying to swab our tonsils with these sticks, and
you do it
all
yourself?
really fucking hungover. You do it yourself all the time. No one will test you in the UK. No one does. So you do it yourself, and they think, and we were having a really difficult time. And then like the rest of the family who were in car number 1 were like, you all right? You were taking ages. And then they come over and help, and that's fine. And then it gets put, a wee woman comes over with a garbage grabber and takes your bags of tests and puts them in a bin.
Okay.
And then they go away, and they actually, considering the backlog, like they did a very good job of getting them through, but the results were coming in like completely random. I think spread out over a period of about 8 hours, and you'd get a text, and then it would just be like, we'd all lateral flow and then sit in the living room. And then people would get their result, and they'd just quietly put their mask on and leave the room and go to their bedroom. But then when the corona patients in the floor above, the corona ward started to outweigh the people downstairs, we staged a coup and took over the house. And then my brother, who was the only healthy one left at that stage, had to be in the attic, which was a bit mean.
And did he survive? Did he get
He
through
seems
the
to
whole...
have survived.
He
but he is a beast of a man, and he also had coronavirus before.
Okay. So maybe he fought it off.
Anyway, so that's a long story short. I am very aware that we had a very, very, very lucky brush with COVID, but I do think this is indicative of the situation at the moment, which seems to be that fucking everyone is getting it.
Yeah. Germany today recorded a new infection record, 90,000.
Holy motherfucking hell.
Yeah. Which is obviously still a way behind the UK, which I think is still over 100,000 a day.
In Ireland at one point, whenever we were there, and we were just on the border, 50% of tests they were doing were coming back positive. 50%. Wow. Isn't that nuts? Anyway, important things. I know I keep going on about it, but we were very lucky, and it was like, particularly like my mum is obviously 60. It could have been very, very different if she wasn't thrice vaccinated.
Well, in the meantime... So it is important,
and we all had an easy time of it because I think we're vaccinated.
Yeah, I got boosted this week.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's very easy. I didn't have an appointment. I just heard... I went to the Messe, and I was in and out in 40 minutes. Fill in you just good. Join the queue with no appointments. Fill in a little form, and then you just go this queue, and then another queue, and then sit in a little room and wait for the doctor to come, and she injects you, and then they've organised it so that you can just order which one you want when you get into the room.
That's like McDonald's.
Yeah, you sit there. It used to be that you had to say at the beginning if you wanted a particular vaccine, but now you just sit in the little cubicle, and the doctor says, "So which one you want? Which one are we having today?"
And you just pick up like right hand or left hand.
And then they say, and then I was like, "Oh, Moderna," because I'd had 2 Modernas before. I might have thought I might as well have 3, and then she put a little coloured tag, like a plastic tag, in the window, and there were soldiers. There's Bundesrat members there who were like basically distributing the vaccine. So whoever, if you put like a red one, you got a Moderna, and then he would like hand the thing to the doctor. And
those Impfzentrum, if you haven't been, I honestly, and you want to go get a booster, go and do it, because they are unbelievable. I know I complained about the Impfstrategie at the beginning, but now that is up and running, it is German efficiency at its fucking finest. Good. With a little bit of Berlin club vibes, particularly if you go to Tegel. So
there's a lot of young people who work in there, and it's well anyway. Kind of interesting. Well, it was a very simple procedure. You don't need an appointment anymore.
Yes, and people should get their booster, because basically it's now starting, particularly in Berlin. You have got, even if you're twice vaccinated, you need to be boosted to enter things or tested. So your second one is starting to be invalid. So
you need to, if you want, they want to bring it in if you want to get into restaurants, you need to have 3 boosters.
I think they have brought it in from today. I think we're just discussing this what is our fucking purpose here? It is true. Yeah, the situation is wild.
Oh yeah, they kept reducing the because before I left in December, they said you should get your booster after 6 months, and then suddenly it was 5 months, and now it's 3 months. Just go. It doesn't matter. Just keep getting them. Anytime you have a spare afternoon, just go and get a half dose of Moderna shoved into you. So what else has been happening in Germany? Well, since we last did a podcast, there is now a new government.
Hey.
the Angela Merkel era has finally ended.
Isn't that crazy?
And now we have on December I think it was the 7th, the new coalition contract was signed, and then they were all sworn in a couple of days later. Every single minister in the Bundestag in a big ceremony.
That must have taken ages.
Well, I think.
It's only the ministers, not the members.
Yeah.
Okay, God, they'd still be going if it was like all millions of them.
And now we've got all these new policies, and we have to see what is in store. And for the next year, we talked about who was going to be which minister, I think, in the last one.
We did.
But
we did. So if you, like I, have either no knowledge or can't remember, you can check out the last episode.
Yeah.
I've forgotten everything.
And if you want to do your revision. And we have now, and then meanwhile, the CDU, Merkel-less CDU, has got to rebuild itself after the calamity of the election where they got their lowest ever result in their history.
So they're going to change leaders again, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's important to remember that the CDU is it's dominated German politics since Germany has existed, since this version of Germany has existed in 1949. So they've been there's no other party has been in power longer than the CDU. So it's kind of like we're in a little bit of the off season where there's no CDU. It's what can Germany do without the CDU?
Please God, let us use this time wisely. Holy God!
Because they've built the whole image around being the party of government, and now they have to rebuild that image out of who the people they've got, and they've picked a new leader already, although he's not been confirmed yet. So they were going to have a big leadership battle, but this one has been decided pretty early because they let the members vote.
Yeah, so I think we discussed this a little bit, didn't we? They were going to put it to the membership vote because the CDU doesn't really know how to define itself. It's kind of stuck in this, well, if we're not Merkel, then who are we? And it's kind of do we go maybe to the right and court some people that have gone to the AfD, or do we want to try and be more modern and, hey, the planet's on fire. Do we need all of these Volkswagens being pumped out all the time? And what have they done, Conrad? What have they decided to do?
Well, they've picked Friedrich Merz.
They fucking have.
As their next leader, and he's finally succeeded. Well, he's not actually been confirmed as leader. They're going to have a party conference at the end of the month, but it's going to still. It's pretty much definite he's going to be the leader, and now it's up for debate whether he'll be the parliamentary leader too, which is a different office that is also important. There's a lot of debate about whether the leader of the party should also be the parliamentary leader, and whether there should be a different person, and there's a power struggles going on. Anyway,
well, I'm going to say no, because I think the fewer pies that man has his fingers in, dirty fingers in. And
but to answer your question, because he has been notably in his like leadership campaign, he has been like notably singing a slightly different tune in terms of.
So I'm giving you my I am not impressed with this face, but it's obviously silent.
Because he's realised all the analysis from the election came to the conclusion that the CDU lost the most voters to the SPD and the Greens.
Okay, all right.
And so they were like, well, we have to try and win those voters back more than we want to win AfD voters back, you know?
So that seems kind of interesting because there's this thing between, people have lost favour with the CDU because they realise that there may be a more outdated party. They believed in Merkel, but they don't believe in like Christian democratic tradition. Let's keep everything going.
Yeah.
But then the CDU have realised that, but they've also got their sort of more conservative right-wing candidate because the people who are still left in the CDU have sort of said that that's what they want. That's a difficult thing for Merz to try and do, is like hold on to the grassroots. Grassroots is a slightly ridiculous term to use, I think.
So he's good.
Because they didn't vote for Friedrich Merz, but like a less conservative, less capitalist, less...
They could have chosen Norbert Röttgen, who is much more centrist CDU, much more like Merkel-like CDU, but they went for a Friedrich Merz. They could have done Norbert Röttgen with a conservative flavour, or they could have gone Friedrich Merz with a liberal flavour, and they went Friedrich Merz with a liberal flavour. They kind of like...
I don't think the liberals are going to like Friedrich Merz whatever way you flavour him. So maybe this is also good news for people who don't want the CDU to be back in power.
Yeah, and the other thing is
planet not on fire.
The other thing is that a lot of people think if you listen to the political pundits of Germany, they think that
you are my political pundit of Germany. Tell me more.
They think that Merz won't be more than an interim leader anyway.
I cannot. I'm sorry. I am a young-ish woman. I cannot live through. I feel like the fucking Queen Elizabeth living through all of these CDU leaders who I have to get to know and give a shit about. I can't do it anymore. No.
Okay. Well, this brings me on.
Please continue.
So, moving into the election year 2022, there are 4 regional elections this year.
What more?
And what is interesting about these elections is that they could decide who the next CDU leader could be.
All right.
Because
I was very enthusiastic there, and I was like, I don't care.
You don't really care.
I just don't care.
I'll try and get through this in the next 3 minutes. But basically, so there's 4 regional elections. Do you want to know which regions?
Yes, please.
Saarland.
Okay.
North Rhine-Westphalia.
Yes.
Schleswig-Holstein.
Yes.
And Niedersachsen, Lower Saxony.
Interesting.
They're all Western states.
They're all Western states. So Niedersachsen is Western, Sachsen is thing.
Austin, yeah. Niedersachsen is the state of Volkswagen. Is where Wolfsburg is. So
presumably they go CDU?
No, they're currently led by SPD. But but anyway, so there are these 4 elections, and in a couple of these places there are like young up and coming CDU leaders. For example, the minister president of Schleswig-Holstein is called a guy called Daniel Günther. He's in his 40s, and
a spring chicken.
There's a couple of spring chickens
in the CDU.
The leader of the CDU, the guy who took over from Armin Laschet, who you probably remember, kind of has disappeared.
He will slowly. This is probably the only period of time that I will remember Armin Laschet.
He's called Henrik Wüst. He took over from Armin Laschet in North Rhine-Westphalia, and he's now like a kind of interim minister president until the election this year, So he's up for election, and if he wins his election, or if Daniel Günther does really well in his election, suddenly they will be very powerful in the CDU, right? So even though Merz's job is to rebuild the CDU towards the next election, even if he does rebuild the CDU, he can't do it without strengthening other rivals that he might have in future, people who are 20 years younger than him, who have more of a future, and they'll people who are like the next generation. So it's almost as if this next year could decide the post-Merz generation of CDU leaders. Anyway, that's just a little bit of politics. I
don't know. It's interesting in a way from like a social phenomenon, I guess. Are centre conservative parties in Germany looking at how that last election went, like how much future do they have, and particularly if they're going to enfranchise, please to God, 16 and overs and migrants. Because if they do that, as I've said before, CDU, just gardening leave. Go and take all of that money you made with BlackRock for your commerce and just enjoy it.
So there's those 4 elections, and they will be more important for...
And when are those coming up? When do I start getting excited?
The first one is in Saarland in March.
Saarland is on my list of Bundesländer that I haven't visited.
Oh, yeah, it's very small. I've never been to Saarland. That's the one I've never visited.
The only one? Maybe we should go on a road trip.
To Saarland to
visit Saarland. We can canvass opinion. We can tell them we're...
It's a kind of little... It's very small. It's like a pocket next to France.
Yeah.
It's like they're all a bit French there.
That'd be nice.
I just said that. I don't know if that's true.
That's really incredibly...
It might be offensive. They were really angry about it. They're not bloody French bastard. Anyway, so
yes,
those elections. But I wanted to explain, because we've often had, when we talk about regional elections, we often talk about the Bundesrat.
Yes.
And often I feel like I have not been very clear about what the Bundesrat is and what it does. I feel like sometimes I should explain it more clearly. So I thought this might be a good opportunity.
We should actually, which is somewhat embarrassing at this stage of the podcast, Maybe we could do an episode of how German, like,
How does
not
Germany
the
work?
personalities involved. Who goes to what building and does what? With whom?
Well, it's funny. So this is talking about buildings. So the Bundesrat meets in a building opposite the Mall of Berlin. You know, on Leipziger Straße? Mm-hmm. There's a building opposite that. Mm-hmm. And its name is, in English, the Prussian House of Lords. It's called the Preußische Herrenhaus. That's the official name of the building.
Okay.
And so that makes it confusing because makes you think that it's like the House of Lords. But,
yes.
Which it is and it isn't in different ways. So, we know that most parliaments have got two houses, right?
Yes.
And things have to pass through both houses to go into law.
Yeah.
But the Bundesrat is not really like the House of Lords or the Senate in America. It's more like it's a kind of representation of all the regional governments. So this is why the regional elections are very important, because those guys sit on the Bundesrat. But in practice, they don't often get to block. They do have to vote through some laws, but not all of the laws.
And is that what is that decision based on?
Right.
Which laws go to the Bundesrat and which don't?
That's based on whether the states have jurisdiction over those laws. So whether in the Constitution it says the states have jurisdiction over, like, for example, education.
Yes.
Like, that would have to go to the Bundesrat.
Okay, if they wanted to introduce a Bundesweit education law.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It has to say in the Constitution the states have power over this, and then then it has to pass through the
the Constitution.
Yeah. So in a way, it's not really comparable to the House of Lords and the Senate.
But how many people are in the Bundesrat and who goes there?
There are 69 seats, and they are chosen by each state government. So when they're election, they're chosen by the state. They're not elected directly.
Okay.
Or even by the state parliaments. They're elected. They're just chosen by the governments themselves, and they're usually just themselves. They just choose the minister president of a particular state will just be in the Bundesrat himself or herself and sit. And the other thing is that
But how and then bring like some pals with them?
Yeah, other members of the cabinet often of the state cabinet. So like you have the Bavarian state cabinet, and then you'd have like Markus Söder and then other people, and then they would pick
Markus Söder and his pals coming up on the train to go to the Prussian Herrenhaus. He must fucking love that.
And the other weird thing about the Bundesrat is that they have to vote by law. They have to vote as a block, as the whole state government has to vote for the same thing. They can't in every government in every state government in Germany is a coalition, right? There's no one party state.
But in the Bundesrat they have to agree.
They have to agree, and if they don't agree, then they have to abstain. So they don't vote at all.
That's wild. That's like, if you can't get along and play nicely, everyone's toys are taken away.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Is it? I don't know. I'm quite drunk. How's your Megacan?
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this very much. I'm really good. I'm glad that I'm talking about something that I've actually read about.
I'm glad too.
And I've even been corrected about it on a few things, so I'm pretty sure.
Oh, good. It's been run past experts.
Solid ground now, explaining what the Bundesrat is.
So that is.
So they don't really have a lot of. So the point is, it doesn't really have. In practice, it doesn't have a lot of power, and in fact, it's had less and less power over the years because the party system is like fragmented a little bit more. It used to be like in the 60s and 70s, there'd be all the states in Germany were either CDU states or SPD states, and then it was clear who would run the Bundesrat, like if they had a majority. And then there would be a situation like in America, you always hear about, the White House wants to do this and that, but it's being blocked by the Senate because the other party has the majority in the Senate.
Yes.
And it used to be more like that in Germany because there was two bigger parties. But now the parties have got a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And the like smaller parties like the FDP and the Greens and the AfD have got more power. And not the AfD because they're not in the Bundesrat because they're not in any state government.
Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop.
Yeah. But the Greens and the FDP And in Bavaria, the Freie Wähler, they have this like extra party, and they're like a weird party only in Bavaria, in Baden-Württemberg. So they have like more power because they're in the Bundesrat, but that has weakened the big parties a lot more. So now it's much more. You can never tell what the Bundesrat is going to vote, and there's no power block in the Bundesrat which can block what the Chancellery wants to do.
Oh, okay.
Is the thing.
So it's just
They they have to pass certain laws, and they have still have an important constitutional role, but they can't politically. They have much less power than the Senate does in America.
Okay.
And they're unelected. They're just like representatives. They're more like representatives of the state governments.
So they must just end up kind of mirroring what everyone has done in the Bundestag, do they? Presumably, if it's the same kind of like multiple party makeup.
Yeah, and it's
or they don't get to vote at all because no one wants to discuss stuff with Marcus Söder on the train again. They'd rather just be like, I abstain. I cannot listen to that man for 4 hours again.
Yeah. It's just really complicated because now the government is made up of 3 parties. The federal government is made up of 3 parties. But if you look at the state governments, they're all loads of different parties. Look, I'll show you the composition of the Bundesrat. There's a little picture here.
Ooh.
It's just like a kind of weird checkerboard.
It looks like a cool like Bauhaus painting. Semicircle thing. Yeah.
And these are all the different state governments. And there's you can see that it's just like a complicated checkerboard. And the bigger parties, this is the other interesting fact, that only 2 states have got the same coalition in the whole of Germany at the moment.
Oh,
so
that'll be a fun guessing game. Can you give me the coalition and I'll guess the states? I don't know what I'm doing. I barely know the 16 states.
So the coalition is SPD, Green, Linke.
In the states, SPD, Green, Linke.
Yeah, and only 2 states in Germany have that.
So Berlin
coalition.
is one of those.
Yeah.
Rot-Rot-Grün. I don't know, like Bremen maybe?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, come on.
It's another city-state.
Bremen is brilliant, by the way. If you haven't been to Bremen, fucking go. It's excellent.
Oh, what did you do in Bremen?
It's also covered with coronavirus, so be careful. But
go there anyway.
maybe he's off. I don't know. I don't know what's appropriate anymore. I fucking hell.
Stay outside. If you go there, stay outside.
Dude, it's
wear
lovely
a mask.
to walk around. Yeah, they've got great beer. That one, oh god, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway,
you live by the Weser.
It's a delight. I had a
lovely
time
little town. Yeah,
Bremen.
it's a lovely city, really. Anyway, yeah, and but all the other states in Germany have totally different coalitions, which means that the Bundesrat is this like complicated, bewildering checkerboard where no one has any overwhelming power. So that is good for the federal government, for Scholz, because they can just sort of decide things and they know that one way or another it will pass through the parliament.
Well, unless the Bundesrat all decide to be...
So that is what the Bundesrat is.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that was genuinely very informative and good.
What else? Oh, right. One other thing I wanted to talk about was cheap meat.
Yes.
Because this is a big issue in Germany. The Billigfleischdebatte.
It's a big issue in lots of places.
Yeah, because you got sausages. I really like sausages.
I also do. It's really bad. Not necessarily, I don't hanker after the German ones, but oh my lord, I ate a lot when I was home, and they are...
Yeah.
Oh god, they're so good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big sausage fan generally. I like pretty much any sausage that you'd care to mention.
God, I'm really... Do we always do this when we're this drunk?
I don't know. I can't remember. So
it doesn't seem responsible at all. Okay, so the Billigfleischdebatte.
Yeah, we have a new agriculture minister.
Yes.
Cem Özdemir.
Yes.
The former leader of the Green Party. Very much a kind of like a veteran of the party, quite a lot of authority. He's been in the Bundestag for 25 years.
Oh wow!
He was one of the first Bundestag members of Turkish descent. Mm-hmm. So he was he's very important. He's been making a big deal about the fact that Germans should stop eating so much cheap meat because it's bad on a lot of different levels. And it's bad for your health, for one thing, because it means that, well, you get fat and get heart disease.
Not good.
And it's bad and there's also a lot of salt in it and everything. That's very bad. And it's also bad for the environment because Germany's not going to meet its climate change targets if it has such a massive meat industry. And it's also very bad for farmers who grow all the animals. You don't say grow the animals, do you?
I
breed the animals.
They husband them. Animal husbandry. What do they do? Oh God!
All the farmers, because they
raise the livestock. I think
exactly. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Raise the livestock. So he says like it's really bad, and because they don't get paid fairly.
No. So presumably the profit goes to big supermarkets.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this, but the supermarkets have got, and only the supermarkets, but also the major slaughterhouses, the Tönnies. You might have heard of Tönnies.
We have, because they were notorious for their terrible working conditions, which meant corona outbreaks all the time between amongst their poor staff.
Yeah, they employ a lot of people from Romania and stuff.
Who they then house also in substandard accommodation, which then...
So those kind of companies, those massive companies, they make a killing. And what they do is... I'm
enjoying that you just made an unintentional pun about slaughterhouses making a killing. Well done.
Thank you. And what I didn't know was that the farmers... They have to sign a contract with those big companies saying they will only get paid a proportion of what they sell. So they don't even know how much they're going to get paid.
Oh my God! I knew it was bad for farmers, and I think it's the same with like milk as well.
Yeah, apparently with milk it's the worst.
Yeah,
that's the most
really
exploitative
bad
system. So that the supermarkets like Aldi and Edeka, they can just say, we'll pay you like whatever, like 1% of whatever we sell. But that's
shocking.
So they don't get any. They don't know even like a month in advance how much they're going to get paid for the milk that they produce. Yeah, it's a kind of like an exploitative system. So yeah, Cem Özdemir is making a big thing about how this is unsustainable in the long term. People have to, but he's also kind of making, like, gently telling the German people the meat is going to have to get more expensive at some point.
Yeah.
Because there was a study, there was an agricultural, there was like a study that actually came out under the last government with, I think it was various federations and environmental groups, and they figured out how much meat should cost to offset the environmental damage that it does. And they came up with something like apparently like a kilo of beef costs 14 euros now, and if it was ecologically fair price, it would be more like 80 kilos.
80 euros.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm fine.
Between the both of us, we're sober enough to steal the steer the ships. 80
euros per kilo.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that's a lot of
kind of makes
so.
sense if you think about what steak costs in a restaurant. I think seems to be, but then restaurants also, they have to that's not me cooking my own steak. That's a restaurant having to pay staff and everything to bring my fucking steak to me because I'm a pig who thinks she's Henry VIII.
No, this is just food. This is just money that would offset the kind of damage to the environment.
Yeah, I was thinking
and it destroys biodiversity as well, like livestock. It's really bad for the environment.
It's terrible.
So one way or another, he kind of said that farmers are going to have to get some kind of state subsidy to keep animals in a more humane way as well. That's the other thing.
This is the other thing. It's bad for animals, isn't it? Like, if your sausages have only cost this much and someone's given up their life for that, what was the quality of that life? Like, everything that is too cheap to be good is bad.
So
that's why.
Obviously, the Bild Zeitung and all the kind of right wing press have like come out and said like, oh, he wants to Özdemir, he wants to take away your schnitzel. There's a big thing about schnitzel and your pork schnitzel, but according to a Greenpeace survey, a majority of Germans are actually in favour of higher prices and wouldn't mind paying a bit more for meat.
Yeah.
If it meant better conditions for animals and better quality meat.
Yeah.
And so they've.
I think
so
politicians and the media really need to stop being so down on. And it is also particularly like demographics in society where they're like, well, people will never stand for that because they love their cheap sausages and whatever and have to drive their cars everywhere. It's like people are essentially wanting the best for the most people. And if you explain to people like the reasons behind this, you don't even have to. They already know. They're like, oh yeah, it's probably terrible. Raise the prices. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe pay us like decent wages and like sort out fucking Hartz-IV or the Burger Geld. I don't even know what's happening there, but I'm sure I won't be happy with it.
Yeah.
And then like everyone, like empower people to make better choices, and they will make choices that are better for everyone. Like look what fucking coronavirus did. People have shut themselves up in their homes. Their businesses got destroyed. The vast majority of people were just like, this is what I have to do to save the planet. Fine. I don't love it, but that's fine. And then the media are still like, well,
yeah, people
normal, everyday Germans went to that. Like, fuck you. What's an everyday German? It's just this kind of insulting thing that people use, I think, to whip up controversy.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I'm not an everyday German, but maybe everyday Germans are not that different from me.
I think this is the thing, and people love to like divide us and put us into things, and then everyone gets cross, and I think people buy more papers or click on things, or they do share. Apparently, there's a study, you're more likely to share things if you are on social media, like news articles and stuff, like if you're in a bad mood or if you're angry, you like just share, this is outrageous. So if they get people whipped up into like either, oh, people don't want to give up their sausages, or I shouldn't have to give up the sausages. Or if we just had like, imagine having a responsible media. Imagine the Bild was just like, do you know what, guys? Here it is. Here are the facts. This is what we could do. These are the pros. These are the cons. Make your own decision.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of a pig. Here's a picture of a farmer.
And also people will get behind. People will get behind like a common effort if it means saving the world. It's about
exactly.
That's why most people have got vaccinated, because they know they have to.
Exactly.
And
instead we're sold this thing because it is just about people wanting to fucking get more votes than the other people or get more clicks than the other people.
Well, I think we did quite well there.
Yeah, I've just realised that, like, I've just been like, why don't we just have responsible, non-emotional, whipping people up into an angry fury stuff? And I'm like, it's literally what you've just done for like 45 minutes on a whole podcast. But
did you finish your Megacan?
No, you always suck yours. I don't know how.
I don't know, I'm quite a fast drinker.
Honestly, guys, if you want a thrill, and the clubs are shut again, unfortunately, there's not so much thrills. Don't have a Megacan for 4 to 6 weeks and then have one, because wow. Wowee.
It's like clubbing. It's like going to a nightclub on your own in a can.
For $3.90 this was from your Späti.
Oh yeah.
Yours was a bit more expensive.
Have they gone up in prices? Inflation.
Your Späti's fine though. It's an excellent Späti. It's taken over though. They've taken over the next building. They've put a cafe in there. Yeah. They've got seating in the road. You're going to be living in that Späti soon.
It's like a little empire.
It is.
It's going to annex the buildings.
It is.
Okay. Great. I think we've covered everything. I think I've completely covered the Billigfleischdebatte. I'm
very pleased with your Bundesrat explanation as well.
Explain the Bundesrat. Yeah, I think that's all the news. That's all the news you need to know.
It's Friday night. I am both happily drunk and also outraged. So I'm very pleased to be back.
Great. That's the old familiar feeling.
Hopefully people won't have forgotten us. So thank you for listening if you are. We appreciate your patience.
Yes, thank you for listening. Oh, and Happy New Year to Yoshi, who donated some money.
Yoshi's my favourite person, I think. of 2022. He's my hero of 2022. Thank you so much.
Yeah, he sent us some money for the last year, which was very nice.
I look forward to spending that at your super duper spatey on Megas.
Yeah. Cool.
Have a nice weekend, everybody. Or week or whatever. Try not to get coronavirus. Definitely get your booster if you haven't got it yet. Dear God. Just go.
Yeah. What are you waiting for?
Just get it done. Get it done. 3's the charm. Probably not. But for the moment, 3's the magic number.
3's the ticket into your favourite locale.
Locale, unless it's a club, in which case, good luck.
Great.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.